Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to my vlogs. We're at Silo Auto Club again for a very special video. I told you guys it would happen. All right, that Lotus, yes, it's happening. And we got the owner. What's going on, Mike?
Hey DJ, how are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic, man. So, Lotus Esprit, like, you literally have one of my dream cars. That is insane to me. Like, when I first saw, I think the second time I came here to Silo, I saw this car in the back, and I just like lost my mind, literally. Like, to have two of my dream cars in here, that Diablo and then this Lotus, is insane to me. But can you tell us a little bit more about the car?
Yeah, I always liked these. I always thought they were really cool cars, kind of undervalued. And I was at an auction in Scottsdale, probably, I think I've had that probably 6 years, maybe 7. And it was kind of crazy. It was one of the big auctions. So Bonham's was going on for auction week that was going on there. And the weather turned, and it wasn't like a tornado, but I mean, we had these crazy winds and everything, and the weather was terrible. Normally the weather's great for Scottsdale.
Yeah.
Well, when it got bad, they kept the auction going, but like everybody left.
Oh my goodness.
And so it was kind of this whole, it was really a weird thing with the auction. So I hadn't planned to buy anything, but this thing, there were a couple of cars I was kind of interested in.
Yeah.
And this car came up, it was really low mile, had 19,000 miles on it, you know, when I bought it. Pretty unique in the British Racing green, and they call the interior Magnolia. It's basically tan. But this is an S4S, so this is the last of the variants of the high horsepower, high performance 4-cylinder turbos before they went to the V8 a couple years later. And so it's pretty unique car. They only made 330 of them. I think 170 or so maybe came to the States. And so there's not very many of them. And this is arguably like the best color combination. Everybody would have an opinion on that. But the British Racing green for a Lotus, you know, over that is pretty good. And it's not in perfect condition because I've driven it, but it's pretty close. I mean, it's really nice. It's a car I've taken on some rallies. I've had a great time getting it out. So I've really enjoyed having it.
I will say this is a really beautiful color combination. I've seen a lot of the Esprits, a lot of them like yellow, orange, gray, but this one right here, probably the best colorway I've seen so far with this, the British green. Like, the green kind of reminds me of like the new Formula One cars, like the Aston Martins and stuff like that, because I know that they race in green. I think I've seen a couple Lotus Elises in green, like this type of green, so it definitely works for it.
Yeah, like, the British Racing green and a lot of the British cars, you know, it's just it's a real classic color, you know, for British cars in particular.
It's funny too, because I have diecast, I have a lot of diecast cars, and I have two 1/18 scale of the British sports cars. I have a Jaguar XJ220 and a McLaren F1, and they both have this color. Yep.
Yeah, the XJ220s, I mean, I don't even know how many colors they made that in, but the majority of them you see are British Racing green, for sure.
And that definitely works, because I love looking at those cars. We're gonna be in this car briefly, but I actually want to go around and appreciate the other cars that you have in this showroom, because you do have a big car collection, correct?
I got a few there. It's not what you call big collection compared to what a lot of people have, but I've got 20 cars that I, you know, tinker with, and I've had for a while. I buy and sell some every once in a while. But yeah, so and they're not all my cars are here in the showroom in here, but there's 6 or 8 of them probably that are in here.
6 or 8 of them. So we got this one right here.
Yeah, this is kind of a really unique car. It's a 65 Griffith, which was a really unique car. I made 180 of them, and a guy by the name of Jack Griffith back in the 60s wanted to compete with Carroll Shelby with the 289 Cobras, and he ordered 182 TBR chassis. TBR was a British manufacturer, and he ordered only the chassis. He didn't order the engines in them. But then what he did when he got all the chassis was at the same time he ordered 180 Ford Cobra Hypo motors, 289 motors. They were about 315 horsepower, and he built 182 of them. And then, you know, they did race them. They didn't have big success like the Cobras did, but it was still Mark Donohue. The kind of its claim to fame was Mark Donohue was one of the test drivers early on for Jack Griffith, you know, and helped them develop the car. And so they raced them a lot. And this is a fun, you know, it's a fun rally car for some of the vintage rallies. I love taking it out for that because a lot of the vintage cars don't have a boatload of horsepower. And this thing's got plenty of horsepower, you know, and it's super lightweight. It's only about 1,800 pounds.
Wow.
So 315 horsepower and 1,800 pounds.
Yeah.
It'll get down the road.
Yeah.
It can be a little twitchy. It's also got a super short wheelbase. So when you're driving it hard, it can get a little twitchy, and in the wet, you know, in particular, it can get away from you. But I'm not driving it that hard in the wet normally anyway.
I've seen this car so many times in the showroom. I kind of seen a couple of Griffiths, but after you told me that it was on like a TVR body, I can definitely see it now because I've just seen some of those online, and I was very like intrigued about those because there's not really that many of them here in the United States. I've seen videos of some in LA, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and this was the Model 200, which was the there were a couple of other models, but the 200 was really the one that kind of put them on the map. They built a 400 series later that they had some issues with, but the 200s were really the kind of the one to have.
Yeah, that is awesome, man. So you do have a lot of Beamers in here. I know one of my recent vlogs, me and my sister were in here. She's a big like BMW fan, so she was going crazy when she was seeing all of these. So this is a M5.
That's a 2002 Dynan M5. It's
okay.
What Dynan calls an S3, which means it's got a lot of suspension upgrades, number of other upgrades in the car, and then it's also supercharged.
Oh, okay.
So these stock regular M5, the E39 M5s were 394 horsepower. This has got around 650. So it's the highest horsepower car I own actually these days since I got rid of my Corvette Z06.
This has 650 horsepower.
650 horsepower, yeah. It's
that's scary.
It's got a crazy amount of power.
That is terrifying for this Beamer. Oh my goodness.
But it handles great. I've taken it on a number of rallies. I just took it on one to Nashville earlier this year, in fact. We took it down there. And it's so comfortable. I mean, it's probably also one of the most luxurious cars I have. A lot of the old ones, like the Griffith, you know, I mean, there's no AC, there's no anything, right? And this M5 is nice for the rallies because my wife, she can kind of enjoy that a little bit more. It's a little more comfortable than some of the other cars I have.
Yeah.
But it's also a pretty rare car. It's got about 22,000 miles. It's again, I bought it. It was in this kind of condition. I probably put 3,000 miles on it. But it's a fun. You know, it's a really fun car to have too.
That's awesome. I know my sister was going crazy over this one too. And what year did you say this was?
That's an 88.
88. Wow. And this one, I'm sure came from overseas because of the plate on there?
Actually, it did not. The guy that I bought it from kind of Euroized it, I guess. Put the different marker lights on it, the headlight washers, the European plate. He liked the European look. It's got the shortened M-Technic bumpers, which are basically the Euro bumpers.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people prefer. I certainly kind of prefer them over the US spec bumpers. But this is a car that I bought with the intention of completely redoing it. And I'd had it about, I've owned it probably 10 years, and I ended up driving it for about 5 years. It was a California car, had 230 or 40,000 miles on it when I bought it, but it was in great shape, you know, because it was a California car, it didn't have any rust. And so I drove it for about 5 years, and then we embarked on the big Resto-mod project. And so Ray Corman at Corman Auto Works in North Carolina, kind of an original BMW racing guy, kind of one of the early BMW performance shops. And so the car, he had the car for 4 years, and we completely stripped the car down. I mean, pretty much everything in the car has been touched. So that was a 3.5 liter motor stock. We punched it, bored and stroked it to 4.1 liters. So it pushes out around probably a little shy of 400 horsepower, but it's got a ton of torque. And we redid the interior, the exterior, you know, it kind of rebuilt everything. So it drives pretty much like a new car today, but in kind of analog vibe.
Yeah. So this is another M5?
This is actually, it's a BMW E21 body style. So it was the 3 Series of the day. So the E21 body came after the 2002.
Oh, okay, I got you.
And
yeah.
This started life as a BMW 323 European model, and then Alpina. I think most people these days probably know who Alpina is, but you know, kind of like AMG to Mercedes. Mm-hmm. And they were an aftermarket shop. They bought cars from BMW, completely redid them and sold them. And so this is an Alpina C1 2.3, so it's been expanded, been bored out a bit, and so it's a 6-cylinder. These put out about 170 or so horsepower probably at the time, between 170 and 180. And this car I bought on an online auction, and it's got around 53 or 4,000 miles. It was actually spent a decent amount of time in Japan, strangely enough. And the reason I know that is because the stereo, the frequencies are different in Japan, completely different. And so it's got a Japanese stereo in it that will pick up no American channels because the frequencies are also different. So that's kind of a funny little thing about that car. But it's in really nice shape, great driver. It's really, really a fun car. And Alpinas, like I'm bringing a trailer, I mean, Alpinas right now are kind of the one of the marks of the moment. They're bringing pretty good money on there. They're kind of unusual and kind of rare. And there was probably only about 80 of these C1 2.3s made. So there are not very many of them.
So I do know the BMW 2002, that was like a 60s car, correct? Like 60s,
Late
70s?
60s through the mid 70s.
Okay,
yeah.
So this one would have come out in...
Yeah, so this is an 83.
Okay.
Which was kind of toward the end of life for the E21 body style, and then the E30 body style came out a couple of years later after that. Okay.
Cool. I really do love the livery on this, the green and blue. That definitely caught my eye first time I saw it.
Yeah, the seats kind of go along with it as well.
Yeah, they definitely do.
They kind of match that same look.
They definitely do, yeah. That is a really nice touch to that. Oh, it's funny, when me and my sister saw this car, she noticed how that says ass. Yeah, right. kind of funny that the seat, you put your ass in the ass seat. You know, that's kind of the way those are. But yes, those are European seat manufacturer. Oh my goodness.
It didn't translate quite the same in English, I guess.
And this one is 2002.
That's a 2002, and that's a turbo, those are kind of extra special for the 2002s. They only made about 1,700 of these, and they were. It's funny. When BMW started to manufacture them, it was kind of right at the beginning. This is a '74, and this was right at the beginning of, for those that are old enough to remember, kind of some of the gas issues and the oil embargo stuff that was going on back in that day. And so it was considered by the German press to be frivolous. And so they only made them for 2 years, and then they quit making them. But the 2002s back in the day were, depending on the variant, were anywhere from around 100 horsepower up to the TIIs were around 130. And then the turbos came out, and this car is about 170 horsepower or so.
Okay. So, quick question. Why did they call these the 2002 again?
I know the answer to that. Why that? I think I've read it, but it was like 2 doors and 2 liters, and there was something else that was in that. But I've read it, but now I've kind of forgotten what the naming convention was.
I just know my younger self, when I heard of a BMW 2002, I literally thought it came out in 2002.
Right,
and found
a lot
out,
of people think that, right?
I found out it's like a 60s, 70s car. I'm like, what?
And it's kind of funny, right? Because my M5, my E39 M5 is a 2002. So, yeah, it's kind of easy to get those confused.
That is hilarious. But yeah, this is also a really nice BMW. And
I bought that car, it was fully restored when I bought it. So it's in great shape. I probably put 6,000 or 8,000 miles on it. Rallies again, you know, and that kind of thing. I'm taking it to some shows. It's kind of it's a show-winning kind of restoration, but it's won a couple of awards, a couple of different spots. So, so it's been a really fun car. That was a car when I was younger, when those came out. I mean, I kind of fell in love with those. Yeah. And so it's kind of fun to actually get to own one now.
Yeah, for real. Now, I do know your Lotus Esprit is like one of my favorite cars, but this is another favorite of mine right here. Your Tomaso Pantera. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, those are kind of cool cars. Tomaso was the manufacturer, and they did a little more common back in those days, where there were a handful, particularly Italian manufacturers, that would do the styling and kind of design the car, and then they would buy American engines to put in them. Yeah. And so this has a 351 Cleveland, Ford 351 Cleveland in it. These were 325 horsepower or so back in the day, which was a lot of horsepower, right? This is 72. And so there weren't a lot of cars on the road, even the Ferraris of the day. They didn't have any more than that. They were probably kind of right in that same category. So it's but I always really liked the styling of those. That was one. I had a poster, of one of these in my basement when I was a kid. And I found this car. In fact, I bought this car at the same auction that I bought the Lotus. Wow. And it was one of those I just didn't think it was going for a lot of money, and so I ended up buying it at the same time. So I've had this again probably six or 7 years. It's another 22,000 mile car. It may not be perfect, but it's very, very close. It's probably one of the nicest Panteras, original Panteras in North America. There wouldn't be very many that would be any nicer than this.
So did Tomaso always use like Ford engines in their cars?
That's a good question. I believe they were all Ford engines, but I'm not sure. There were a couple of other models back in the day, and I'm not certain. Bottom line is I'm not certain, but I think they did. I'm pretty sure they were all Ford motors. Okay.
That is really, really interesting. I'm thinking about that. Really, really beautiful car, I will say. Like, I've seen the Mangusta, or is it Mangusta or is it Mangusta?
Mangusta is normally what they say in Italy, but
okay. I've seen that at the Peterson Automotive Museum, and that was so beautiful. Like under the lights of it, it was orange, and orange is like my favorite color, and it just looked insane. Like
Mangustas they're rarer, and I would argue that the Pantera, I think, is a more beautiful car. Though I love the Mangustas as well, but they're worth twice as much probably as a Pantera. In similar condition, maybe even a little bit more than that. And they've kind of got the funny clamshell kind of back on them. That's kind of funny the way that it folds out. But they're really, really very cool cars as well.
I do remember, I think me and you talked about that before. Were they more reliable than Panteras, or?
I don't know. I don't know comparatively. You know, they were probably similar, would be my guess.
Okay.
Yeah, they were. None of those cars were. You wouldn't look at them today and think that they were. Any of them were super reliable.
Yeah.
Particularly the Italian cars. You know, a lot of time the Italian cars and the British cars both. I mean, British cars, they struggle with kind of more the electrical end of things primarily, and you know, with the Italians, it was just a lot of other stuff. It was cooling. It was a lot of stuff that caused them to be a little bit more of a maintenance. Could be a little bit more of a maintenance headache.
Yeah, understandable. Beautiful car though. This is another one of your cars, and oh my goodness, I always appreciate this every time I come over here. The first time I came over here, it was in that room, and it didn't do justice because it was so dark. And then I was so mad. I was like, man, I want to put this on. I want to put this under like some brighter lights. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So this car, the story on this car is a buddy of mine who actually we're going to embark on restoring a couple of 911s soon. But the same guy friend of mine built this car, and he built it as a race car. He races quite a bit. He built this car for his daughter, and thinking she thought she wanted to race, and he was excited that they might be able to do some racing together. And this is a 914-6, so it's a 6-cylinder, 2-liter 6-cylinder. Which actually the 914-6s for street cars are worth some money today. They've gone up in value. But he built this for her to race, and she raced it a couple times. Ultimately decided it wasn't really her thing.
Yeah.
And so so he just kind of had sitting around in his place. And I had an '88 M6. It was very nice, really nice car, and he'd always wanted an M6. And so we ended up just swapping, because I wanted a car that I could go out in the next year or so. I want to get back into racing.
Wow.
And this car is built and ready to go. So it's not a car I got to build. I don't have to worry about what classes it can run in or any of that. So my hope is next year I'm going to get that out and start to race it a little bit.
That is an amazing swap. Oh my goodness. This is such a beautiful car with the Golf livery on there. Oh my goodness. This is probably one of my favorite cars in here. Like I said, I'm a big Porsche fan, and then seeing this one, only other time I've seen this, maybe at another car show I've seen one of these, and then I have a Hot Wheels car of it.
Yeah, the Golf scheme is really, really good on anything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, whether it's a new or a Ford GT or, you know, a lot of the old Porsches, it just, I was the same way. I just really loved the color scheme about it. And, you know, it's a race car. It is not perfect. It's kind of got nicks and bumps and stuff all over it. But that, you know, you don't really care with a race car. It's really more
that's
about,
the beauty of it.
Yeah, getting out on the track, and, you know, how well it does on the track is a lot more important than the way it looks.
Yeah. When I first started making vlogs again, I went to Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They had like a race going on, like GT cars and muscle cars, and then they had a car show there, and I saw this one, and I was like, wow, this is like really, really nice. I've never seen an NSX in yellow, and then come to find out it's yours too.
Yeah, this was one of those kind of weird bring a trailer buys. I'd always kind of wanted an NSX.
Yeah.
And I'd bid on a few, but just never ended up with one. And this was a nice, it was a 28,000 mile car when I bought it. Very nice condition. And I thought it was worth more than where the bid was on Bring a Trailer. And I thought, well, I'll just lob a bid in, you know, and kind of see what happens. And fully expecting there'd be a lot more bids to come behind me, and the clock went tick, 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 done, you own it. So,
man.
But that's a car, that was one of my better buys, and that car's probably doubled in value in the 5 years I've owned it.
Yeah.
And it's, I drive it some, so today it's probably got 33,000 miles, maybe something like that. It is, for most rallies and that kind of stuff, especially kind of back roads and that kind of thing, it's only got 290 horsepower, but it's probably the best handling car I have overall. The mid-engine piece.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, I've got a number of cars that that handle very, very well, but I probably don't have any that handle any better than this.
Wow. Wow. And like I said before, I'm a big fan of pop-up lights.
Yep.
Oh man. But yeah, that, you know, it sounds like you get a lot of good gems on these auctions.
You know, I've gotten hosed a couple times, you know, like you tend to do in those kinds of auctions, but really not badly. I mean, I've had a couple that probably weren't quite as advertised that I've ended up with that I couldn't go see. And it's funny, when I first started buying cars, I mean, you never would have, there weren't really the online auctions. You wouldn't even think about buying a car really on an auction.
Yeah.
I mean, eBay was just kind of coming online, and, you know, there were a lot of scams on eBay and all, and I think I bought 2 cars on eBay. One of those was a car I kind of got scammed on.
Oh, man.
Fortunately, it was fixable, but it wasn't as described. But yeah, I've been really very fortunate overall that the cars I've bought have been mostly as advertised.
Awesome, awesome. You said this is one of 2 Porsches you and your friend are going to rebuild?
Yeah, we bought, I bought the Cabriolet, and then I also bought a coupe. And as I learn what I really like in cars, I've got a number of, and we've talked about a number of the cars I have that are very original, very stock, very great condition. What I'm finding as I get older is I really want to get them out and drive them more, and that's where, you know, the E39 M5 that I had built is that kind of car. And the 911s we're going to build kind of in a different way. We're going to kind of, for those that know what Singer 911s are, we're going to kind of go down that path. So they're going to be kind of bespoke builds that with more power, lightweight. This particular one, the Cabriolet, complete with flat tire. Clearly we got to get the tire fixed. But we're going to turbocharge this one, so it's going to be a full restore. It'll be a 600 plus horsepower car probably when we're done, that we're building again for rallies and that kind of thing. And the other car, the coupe that I bought, is down at my buddy's place where we're going to do the work. And the coupe is going to be very analog, naturally aspirated, 4-liter car. We'll make it, it's a 3.2 car when I bought it, but we'll make it a 4-liter car probably. And it will be, both of these cars are cars that are just going to be meant to be fun cars to take on rallies. I'll take one to our place out in Utah, probably the convertible. I'll have it out there because there's a number of rallies that go on out there, and it'd be a really cool car to have out there to be able to run in some of those.
I know that's going to be fun with 600 horsepower. Oh my goodness, that's a lot.
And that won't even be with crazy boost. I mean, it's pretty easy to extract power out of those when the bottom ends are built for forced induction. They're pretty great. Yeah.
I've always loved the wheels on like these Porsches, like those style wheels. I see those on a lot of the old school Porsches.
Yeah, Fuchs is the manufacturer of those that are pretty typical. I will leave the Fuchs wheels on here. Probably won't necessarily leave them in chrome, but it'll be those wheels. We'll probably change them to the color scheme of the car when we repaint it and do all that. But I do like that classic look of those on the car.
Yeah, for real. That is beautiful touch on that. Definitely got to get that flat tire though. Oh, man.
Yeah, it's kind of, this is kind of a donor car, so I haven't even driven it very much yet, and won't drive it much probably until we get it we start working on it and do the full restoration. But gonna have to, clearly there's a patch we're gonna have to do on that tire to get it to his shop so we can begin to work on it.
Yeah. It is finally time. Oh my goodness, I have butterflies in my stomach right now. I can literally feel the air coming from the exhaust. It's literally hitting my leg right now. Oh my goodness. That was a very interesting start. Let me get from behind here before I consume too much carbon monoxide. Oh man, that sounded amazing, literally. Mike has a lot of nice cars, but literally this one right here just takes the cake. At least for me, like, one of my all-time dream cars. Like, I gotta get used to stuff like this. Because, I mean, one day this is gonna be us. There's a lot of space. I'm actually surprised.
I can actually get a set of golf clubs in there.
For real. Like, the engine bay's a little bit smaller than I thought it would be, but I mean, it makes up for a lot of.
That little Porsche over there, it's not very big.
Yeah. So I'm about to test this out. Put my bag in there.
It fits.
Yeah. You put a lot of suitcases in there. Oh man, that car looks so amazing, man. Like I said, Midnight Club growing up, that car and that Diablo over there were like my favorite cars. Like, look at this. Look at the taillights. That is crazy. Oh man, this car is beautiful. This car looks beautiful. Oh my god, this is literally I literally just have no words. Like, literally every single time I have no words. Like, I'm literally about to go for a ride in one of my dream cars. How is this happening? And in the car we go. Wow, this door opens really, really wide. That's great. Oh man.
Yeah, it's way harder to get in when it doesn't open all the way.
Yeah. Wow. Oh man. This is so insane, y'all. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is so insane. This is literally one of my dream cars. And I love how this isn't as much as like a crazy ride like the Jaguar or like the Audi, because this is like an older type of car, but still it's just so much fun.
But it's way more fun to drive these older cars fast than it is to drive the newer cars too slow. These older analog cars, I mean, this car's, I mean, it's kind of hard to believe it's 30 years old.
Yeah.
So, you know, this is kind of back in the, you know, early days of the cell phone and all. So it's just, it's totally different than the new stuff, the new McLarens, the new Ferraris, even the new Lotuses for that matter.
I can't stop thinking about like Midnight Club, like that video game that I used to play all the time growing up, and racing with this car. Oh my goodness. And now actually being in it is such a surreal moment. Oh man, I literally have butterflies on my stomach right now. Look at this car on the road. Oh my god.
Horsepower, the 300. And this was relatively lightweight in the day. Good, all the kind of good Lotus handling stuff that Lotus was really renowned for. So it's fun. I've taken it on a couple of rallies down the southern part of the state, and it handles really, really well. You just got to drive it. It's different. I've got other cars that have a lot more torque.
Yeah.
So like my Griffith and the Pantera and a number of those have a lot of low end torque. This thing you've got to drive. I mean, if you really are going to drive it hard in the twisties, you know, you got to be up around red line kind of all the time, which is a hoot. It's just a different way of driving than the higher torque cars.
Literally never forget the first time I made a vlog with my old neighbor Sam and his Lotus. Oh man, that was so much fun. And now being in one of my being in one of my dream Lotuses is oh my goodness. If I was to get a Lotus right now, I would probably have it tuned, because I know that they only have like a little small. Well, do all of them have like was their primary engine like that Toyota engine?
Well, that came later.
That came later? Okay.
Yeah.
I know for a fact I would definitely tune my Lotus, because I know they're not the fastest, but Oh man, that'd be so much fun. I just keep thinking about that game because everything that we had was pretty much tuned. Like we tuned the Lotus Esprit, we tuned the Supra, we tuned the Lotus Elise that was in that game too. It's bringing back so many memories right now. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man, this feels great. Oh man. I definitely need to learn how to drive the manual transmission. Oh man. This feels amazing. Feels good going into these turns. Oh man. Yeah, well, that felt great. Oh man. Getting out of a Lotus Esprit is not easy, but
I know, what about me?
one of my favorite parts of this car. Oh my goodness. This is literally one of my favorite parts of this entire car right here. That is amazing. That is freaking beautiful. Like, don't call me a nerd, but like, come on, man. C5 Vets, Lamborghini Diablos, Lotus Esprits, Honda NSXs. I love it. Pop-up lights. I love it. Boom, boom, right there. Oh man, I love it. It's not the fastest thing, but it was extremely comfortable. This was probably one of the greatest rides of my life so far. Thanks again, Mike.
Happy to do it, DJ. That was fun. It's nice having an excuse to get it out and drive it. Great day.
For real.
Sun shining. It was all good. Get it out and exercise it a little bit.
Yeah, for real. That was amazing. We didn't have enough time to go to the other facility that they have, but that will come in a future video, I will say, because he has a lot more cars in there. He said maybe half his collection is over there. So yeah, that's gonna be pretty fun. But until then, enjoy this view. We'll probably be here again shortly. Once again, shout out to Mike for that. Oh man, that really was probably one of my favorite ones so far. Literally, that was one of my dream cars. Not the same year, but still, like, I know Lotuses aren't as fast as your McLarens or your Audis, but they're so much fun to drive. Literally just go-karts. But that was literally so much fun. Yeah, like I said before, we're gonna go to the other facility. Not today, but later on down the road. He got a lot more cars over there, so we'll definitely have to take a look at that. I don't got nothing else, so this video is pretty much over. I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.